More Money, More Problems by S Valencia. Being born in Long Beach, it was no surprise to drive up and down the 710 freeway as a kid, visiting LA and the nearby cities. Looking out the window, seeing the evolution of the cities right before your eyes. I saw cities progress and go through some gentrification. Before I knew it, as years progressed, I started noticing scattered tents. According to Merriam-Webster, tent city is a collection of many tents set up in an area to provide usually a temporary shelter for displaced or homeless people. Eventually, as became older, I definitely started seeing more tent cities. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, between 2018 and 2019, homelessness in California increased by 16%. When I became a voter, I started noticing measures that were intended to help fund homeless programs, which leads me to my hypotheses. With increased funding, it seems that it's actually attributing to the increase in the homeless population in Los Angeles. First, what I'm going to do is explore what other states are doing, whether they're taking a conservative or liberal approach. First, we will start with the state of Texas, Utah, and then the state of Florida. We'll come back to California and some of the ballot propositions, specifically in Los Angeles. First, we're going to start with Fort Worth, Texas. Newsweek reported that the city of Fort Worth, located in the conservative state of Texas, is paying homeless people $10 an hour to clean up its streets. Through this program, people are reporting being able to become self sufficient by beginning to afford housing and getting their lives together on the right path. This opportunity allows for the population to regain their self sufficiency and financial independence, but also it helps the state become cleaner and provide income for its homeless population. Now we're going to visit the city of Salt Lake City and their approach. Bernard reports that since 2005, the state has reduced the number of people on the streets by 75%. Salt Lake City is taking a more liberal approach where they are providing wraparound services. This includes housing, counseling, therapy, and healthcare to further assist the homeless population and ensure that they become more self sufficient sooner with housing and support services. Even though the state of Utah is more of a conservative state, they are taking a more liberal approach. Now let's visit the state of Florida. The state of Florida understands that there are different layers coming together in which label someone as homeless. There is understanding that each phase needs a different resource. Now, what does each phase mean? This basically means that there are different stages of homelessness or different phases. Some may be living in their car, some may be living in the streets, and some may be living in multiple with multiple families in one single family household. Again, each phase requires a different resource. The state of Florida reports that 30, they spend 32,000 per person for people that live on the street, whereas if they were to provide housing, it would only be about 18,000 a year. Shaw also reports that Florida is bringing together various organizations within the state to work together to address the homeless population. Specifically, each organization focusing on different phases of being homeless. Shaw also reports that Florida maintains a database of their homeless population. So, what is California doing? Specifically, Los Angeles. Los Angeles is providing increased budget numbers into their homeless population. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, the last official count is that 151,278 individuals are homeless in California. This leads us to measure HHH. This bond aims to raise $1.2 billion to build 10,000 units of permanent supportive housing and provide millions of dollars for affordable housing. Most recently, according to Cal Matters, Governor Gavin Newsom designated a record $1 billion of his 1920 budget to combat homelessness in California. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti also increased his budget from 2017 from 180 million to in 2018 to 430 million to combat homelessness. This money is intended to provide wraparound services like we are seeing in the state of Utah. So, what happened with this new additional funding? Let's fast forward to 2019 and explore how Measure HH has impacted Los Angeles. Out of the 10,000 units that were intended to be built, only 7,640 units would be built. Out of those, only 5,873 will become supportive housing. The rest will be affordable housing with manager units. As this graph shows, Los Angeles Times reports that compared to other cities, Los Angeles is near the bottom in providing shelter for the homeless. Even with increased funding, they are still not providing any more housing such as Stockton or San Antonio. Even San Diego. Los Angeles definitely needs to act faster. So what really works? Let's revisit the state of Utah and my hypotheses. As I further researched the state of Utah, once funding stopped for their Housing First proposition, their homeless population greatly increased. In 2019, they've seen the double digits of homeless population in their state, which explains that my hypothesis is false in the state of Utah. More increased funding does not lead to increased population, whereas in their state, when there's a decrease in funding, it also led to an increase in the homeless population. It seems that Fort Worth, Texas has found something that works for now. With the decrease in funding in the state of Utah leading to increased numbers in their homelessness, only leads me to believe that financial budgeting that seems pretty large really does help the homeless population. Even though we are not able to see that directly in Los Angeles yet, I believe that with time we will see the progression. My only concern and worry is that now that we're in a pandemic in 2020, how will this affect Los Angeles? Will some of that budget goes towards other programs, other services for, let's say, youth or veterans? Will homeless population still be at the top of their priority list? Thank you so much.